In the top stories, boys' mentorship program launched in Keon High. Families mourn as Brazil hits 400,000 COVID deaths, and Northern Ireland leader Arlene Foster announces resignation. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Friday, the 30th of April 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, a boys' mentorship program was officially launched at the Keon High School on Thursday under the theme Boys Under Construction. At the launching ceremony held at the school, Community Development Officer Hanif Charles said the theme is fitting as the program intends to equip the young men with the necessary tools for them to build a well-rounded and transformed society. He added that the program will have a positive effect on the young men by deterring antisocial behavior and producing fine quality young men. Minister of Community Development, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, urged the young men to always strive to be better versions of themselves every day. He said, quote, "There is nothing noble in waking up in the morning and feeling that you're superior to your fellow man. When you wake up in the morning, you must think about being superior to your former self. When you wake up in the morning, start thinking that, quote, I have to be superior to my former self, end quote. That is what makes you noble." Minister Hamilton said that when someone feels superior to their fellow man, they become selfish. However, if they feel superior to their former self, they'll strive to do the things they know are better, which will improve the quality of their own lives and the lives of others. On Thursday's edition of Policing with You, officers within the White Collar Crimes Unit joined host Superintendent James Francis to share tips on how to avoid becoming involved in or a victim of fraud, money laundering, and terrorist financing. Head of the unit, Sergeant Jerry Watts, explained that the White Collar Crimes Unit is a specialized and investigative unit within the Crime Directorate. Financial investigator within the unit, Constable Daniel Davey, added that they investigate crimes such as money laundering and fraud.
The Color Crimes Unit, we investigate mainly financial offenses, more particularly money laundering, major fraud offenses such as larceny by servant, embezzlement. Additionally to that, we investigate offenses relating to the financing of terrorism, and we also provide assistance to other agencies, both foreign and domestic. And we also conduct asset recovery investigations.
Sergeant Watts explained that money laundering in St. Kitts and Nevis is determined by what the law says, which is where a person or persons engage in transactions that involve money or property that was acquired through a crime being discreetly brought or transferred out of the country. He said this offense carries a fine of up to $250,000 or 20 years imprisonment if committed by an individual.
That money laundering, which differs from a number of other offenses, in money laundering you could prosecute a company or corporation, or you could prosecute a person. So you have a natural person committing laundering could be fined up to $250,000 or 20 years imprisonment or both.
$250,000, right? 15.
Wow. Whereas if it's a company involved in money laundering, it is $700,000. So it is a very serious offense, money laundering. That is. The offense of terrorist financing attracts, I believe, 14 years.
14 years, that's correct.
14 years.
Or a fine of $750,000.
For a person. And if you do it on summary conviction, it will be 5 years imprisonment.
$50,000.
Or $50,000. Now, if it's a company involved in terrorist financing, it is $1 million.
Sergeant Watts and Constable Davey advised companies to do background checks on employees as well as to conduct audits in an effort to avoid becoming a victim of these offenses.
The companies, I would urge persons who operate businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis or companies to do background checks upon their employees. We find most of our matters that come to us for investigations involve employees who do some level of deception and fraud. So first thing you could do is do some background check before you employ these persons in your business place. I will also urge these persons to do, when they do an inventory, that don't only rely upon your computer system for your inventory. Do some physical stock checking. Go in there and verify that your stock is actually in there, as opposed to relying upon a computer system.
Right. Regular audits as well, they could perform those as well.
Yeah, that is very important, because we do find that when we do get a report, it is always like, well, most of the time it's years later And if they had simply did audit yearly, you might have found that this person could have been caught way.
Sergeant Watts also encouraged persons to look out for pyramid schemes and too good to be true offers. Policing with You airs every Thursday at 9:15 a.m. during the morning show with GQ. Kelsey and Nick Vander, an Iowa couple, are the first ever winners of the Ministry of Tourism's hashtag Retie the Knot photo competition. The winning photo was selected in a two-part contest where entries accompanied by a 75-word caption were submitted. 5 finalists were selected with their photos posted online for voting. The winning photo shows the couple posing alongside a sculpture of the 3 wise monkeys taken on their wedding day. In the caption which accompanied the photo, Kelsey noted she chose this particular photo because of the colorful carousel in the background and the famous monkeys in the foreground. The lucky couple will receive a trip to St. Kitts this November to participate in St. Kitts' first ever group vow renewal hosted by the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Dreaming Weddings and Park Hyatt St. Kitts. They will enjoy a 4-night stay at the Park Hyatt St. Kitts. Raquel Brown, the Tourism Authority Chief Executive Officer, congratulated the couple in a statement and said she anticipates their arrival. She said, quote, "Kelsey and Nick, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in St. Kitts in November. To all the couples who participated in the hashtag Retie the Knot photo contest and shared their stories, we thank you for your submissions and do hope your next vacation will be in St. Kitts sometime soon. We received hundreds of submissions from couples who have been married 1 to 40 years with submissions from 48 states, including Hawaii. We look forward to welcoming the grand prize winner to St. Kitts," end quote. The randomly selected voters and the other 4 finalists will be receiving a curated prize pack of products from St. Kitts, including Mother Becky Bush Tea, Yaffine Exotica Soap, Pure Niceness Hair and Body Oil, Amarapa Candle, and Brimstone Flavors Hot Sauce. We now move to news on the regional scene. Brazil is marking another bleak milestone in the coronavirus pandemic after the number of deaths passed 400,000. A quarter of those deaths were recorded this month. Brazil is only the second country after the United States to reach that figure. There's also been an alarming increase in deaths of babies and children below the age of 10. Al Jazeera's Monica Yanikev reports.
There's no school and a huge patio with new and unusual toys. This abandoned factory at the entrance of Rio's oldest slum has become their playground during the pandemic. Its walls shield them from the traffic and violence outside, but offer little protection from COVID-19.
Since the pandemic began in March of 2020 until last February, 47,000 babies and children under the age of 10 have been hospitalized with the virus, and 2,100 have died.
Vital Strategies, an NGO specialized in public health, has released data showing an explosion of deaths among children and babies in Brazil.
The new Brazilian variant is partly responsible because it has a larger viral load than the original one and has more capacity to affect the young. But poverty and inequality also play a big part in this tragedy, and almost all babies who died are poor and black.
Brazil also accounts for half of the world's maternal deaths by COVID-19. Raquel Spinelli runs a workshop for pregnant women and single mothers in the Providência slum. Ana Paula was part of her group. Last December, she gave birth to a healthy boy. But shortly after turning 2 months old, Roberto stopped eating because he had difficulty breathing. His mother told us she took him to the hospital twice, but was sent back home. The third time he was hospitalized, but died soon afterwards of acute respiratory syndrome.
Bronchitis in children is common and can develop into pneumonia, but it's usually cured if you get medical attention in time. Now, this is the first case I've seen for it to evolve so rapidly and then result in death.
Doctors say the number of COVID-19 deaths in children is still small compared to those among the elderly and people with pre-existing conditions. But it can no longer be ignored, especially in Brazil, where the pandemic is still out of control. Brazil's Congress has launched an inquiry to investigate the government's handling of the pandemic and its responsibility in the deaths of 400,000 people. Now, for the first time, a tribute will be paid to the children many had thought would be spared from the virus. A group of mothers wove this carpet, a reminder that at least 2,000 of Brazil's victims were younger than 9 years old. Monica Yanakiev, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
In Guyana, on the one hand, health authorities have cautioned that persons infected with COVID-19 would not be vaccinated against the disease until they recover. Still, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony on Thursday announced that testing before receiving the jab is unnecessary. Here's more from Tamika Rodney of HGP News.
COVID-19 are expected to remain isolated and practice safety measures for approximately 13 days, depending on the classification of their symptoms. Those who do not exhibit any symptoms while infected are usually placed in home isolation. Health authorities have declared that no person who has tested positive for the virus will be administered a COVID-19 vaccine. However, many patients who contract the virus are considered asymptomatic and do not showcase any symptoms at all, and as such are not even aware that they may be infected. Notwithstanding that fact, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony on Thursday advised that there is no need to get tested before accessing the shots.
If we were to do that, it would consume a lot of resources. You don't need to go and get a COVID-19 test before the vaccine. However, if you have typical signs or symptoms of COVID-19, like a cough, fever, these flu-like types of symptoms, you have lost your taste or smell, then those are typical signs of COVID. And we don't want to give you a vaccine if you're positive. We'll prefer for you to recover from the disease before you are given a vaccine.
Studies have shown that 88% of persons infected with the virus would build natural immunity in the form of antibodies to fight COVID-19 6 months after infection. The duration of the protection provided by COVID-19 vaccines are still being researched. However, Dr. Anthony had cautioned that persons can get vaccinated at least 2 months after recovery. Hospitalized patients will not be given the vaccines. Meanwhile, 132,000 persons, or just over 27% of the adult population, have received first doses of a COVID-19 jab, while over 3,000 persons have been fully immunized with the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine. Tamika Rodney reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Internationally, Northern Ireland's First Minister Arlene Foster has announced she's resigning after calls within her party, the Democratic Unionist Party, for a leadership contest. Critics blame Foster for the imposition of the Irish Sea border, a de facto customs border between Britain and Northern Ireland, which was agreed as part of the United Kingdom's exit from the European Union. Al Jazeera's Nadim Baba reports.
To step down as leader of the Democratic Unionist Party on the 28th of May and as the First Minister of Northern Ireland at the end of June. It is important to
the announcement from Arlene Foster will have surprised few people. Such was the pressure she's been under from her Democratic Unionist Party. But it does open a new, unpredictable chapter in Northern Ireland politics.
It has been the privilege of my life to serve the people of Northern Ireland as their First Minister and, of course, to represent my home constituency of Fermanagh and South Tyrone.
Arlene Foster took over as leader of the Democratic Unionist Party from Peter Robinson in December 2015. It made her the first woman to lead the pro-British party and to serve as Northern Ireland's First Minister. Less than a year later, officials said serious systemic failings over a scrapped renewable energy scheme would hit the budget available to the Stormont Assembly. Arlene Foster's opponents demanded she resign. When she refused, the Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness from the Republican Sinn Féin party quit, bringing down the power-sharing executive, which would stay out of action for 3 years. During that period, the UK under Prime Minister Theresa May was negotiating its Brexit divorce deal with the European Union. Foster and her party strongly backed Boris Johnson, the then Foreign Secretary, when he promised to fight any attempt to impose a sea border.
But certainly this gives us a border in the Irish Sea in terms of VAT, in terms of customs.
By rejecting the May deal, the DUP smoothed Johnson's path to Downing Street. But the Brexit deal or withdrawal agreement that Prime Minister Johnson eventually signed effectively created a border in the Irish Sea, making Northern Ireland subject to different rules from mainland Britain. And in recent months, Northern Ireland's been hit by rioting. It's been partly attributed to unionist concerns about the province's position in the UK being weakened. Many DUP members have been angry that Foster hasn't denounced the Northern Ireland Protocol, which imposes checks on goods coming from Britain, more forcefully. The fallout from Brexit is likely to be one of the toughest challenges for her successor too. Nadeem Barber, Al Jazeera.
And now for the weather. Current conditions are cloudy skies with a moderate breeze of 15 miles per hour from an easterly direction. The temperature is 29 degrees Celsius or 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 3 to 5 feet. The weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today says to expect mostly cloudy skies with a 20% or slight chance of a brief passing shower. And for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 20% or slight chance of a brief passing shower. Sunset today will be at 6:30 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:44 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.